Do you think a far lefty can win a national election in this day and age? A presidential election. Do you think that
A
could happen?
far left, you mean like AOC?
Yes. I'm just whether it's what you said about Newsom, whether it's an AOC. I mean, do you think somebody like that can win a general election for the presidency of the United States in this day and age? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. To me, the Democratic Party is a ghost brand. You know what a ghost brand is? It's like Sears or,
Okay.
General Electric. It's still a company, Abercrombie and Fitch, but they've really fallen on hard times.
Yeah.
But they've been around for a long time. So there is value in, it's an asset, right? Because there are still people who know of the company, and if you could have somebody take it over, who's not sentimental about that company and relaunch it, rebrand it, but it would have to be somebody who is unapologetic about calling them out. People have lost faith in the Democratic Party for very good reasons.
It was blazing when Bill Maher set the stage on fire during his appearance on Stephen A. Smith's show. The sardonic comedian didn't hold back, torching Hollywood, the Democrats, and the entire woke establishment for hiding in their echo chamber instead of facing reality. Maher went full throttle, calling out the DNC for what he sees as the deep flaws that cost them their last shot at reclaiming the White House. Let's break it down.
Now I got to get to my next guest. Oh, he's an actor, a comedian, a producer, a writer, and host of the hit HBO political talk show, Real Time with Bill Maher. The one and only Bill Maher is with me right now. What's going on, Big Time? How are you, sir? How's everything?
I'm not an actor.
Well,
Don't ever call me an actor.
I apologize.
I'm the opposite of an actor, like you. Actors are avoiding the truth and playing parts. We're real and telling what's real.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate I correct myself. Thank you for the reminder.
Bill Maher wasted no time lighting up Hollywood in his opening remarks, accusing the entertainment industry's executives of ignoring reality and burying their heads in the sand. But he didn't stop there. He turned his aim on politicians, roasting them for acting more like performers than public servants, stumbling through their roles while avoiding the hard truths the American people deserve to hear. Maher wasn't pulling punches or offering polite excuses. He called it exactly as he saw it in Doug's. And trust me, it stings the most when he goes after your side. We'll get to that part soon. But first, let's listen to how he responded when Stephen A. Smith asked about Jimmy Kimmel's big return to late night TV.
Spoke with MAGA. That's different. And he didn't lie. He said what he thought was true, which I disagreed with. I mean, I gave my spiel about it on the show last week, and it was basically saying something very different than what Jimmy said. I don't think he got it right. I think he's, quite frankly, in his liberal bubble, which is why, let's be real, those shows are struggling, is because they, I think, arrogantly dismiss half the country. They don't speak to them, let alone for them.
They're insane, Maher said flatly. And if this were a political trial, their behavior would be a crime. When it comes to exposing the true mindset of modern liberals, Maher doesn't miss. He points out how conservatives are constantly reduced to caricatures in elite circles. Uneducated, primitive, heartless people who supposedly lack compassion or intellect. In that worldview, MAGA supporters aren't citizens with convictions. They're branded as irrational fanatics, incapable of logic or empathy, unworthy of genuine dialogue. That condescension is now so ingrained that it passes for moral virtue. So when Jimmy Kimmel rushed to label a suspect MAGA, it wasn't about facts. There was no evidence, no context, just reflex. The instinct to defend a comforting narrative that paints conservatives as the perpetual villains of American life. Maher ripped that hypocrisy wide open. He called out the double standard that the left pretends not to see, the moral smugness that has replaced open debate with lazy assumptions and political tribalism. It wasn't just criticism. It was a mirror held up to a movement too proud to recognize its own reflection.
That's the problem. And in the liberal bubble, it had to be someone who was also MAGA, who shot a MAGA guy. My piece was just about how you can't even try to make sense politically of a lot of these people who committed these political atrocities, because they're just crazy. And it's I wish it was politics. That would make it a lot easier. It's actually nihilism. They don't believe in anything.
Maher makes it crystal clear. Free speech isn't negotiable. It's one of his core principles, the heartbeat of his worldview. No one should ever be silenced, canceled, or exiled simply for thinking differently. That, he insists, is the very opposite of what America stands for. This country was built on the wild, messy freedom to argue, to clash ideas without fear. The power of open discourse, the courage to challenge, and the right to dissent are not flaws in the system. They are the system. When we disagree, we don't destroy each other. We sit down, we talk, we debate, armed not with outrage, but with reason, evidence, and common sense. That's the American way. Maher reminds his audience that real democracy doesn't demand uniformity. It thrives on friction. It's in the collision of opposing viewpoints that progress is born. And if we lose that, if we let fear, censorship, or mob approval dictate what can be said, then we lose the very thing that makes America, America.
Look at the map politically, they just want you to hurt like I do. And that's where that was. Jimmy had a different take. He's allowed to have a different take. He's allowed to be wrong. So, you know, some of this stuff gets put out there and then it becomes like the narrative. He lied. He didn't lie. His take was just wrong in my view. And he didn't insult the person that they were worried about getting insulted. And on that score, yes, I mean, I've been always clear about what I think about it. There's no quarter for people who forgive any kind of political violence. Once you start with, yeah, but you know, what he said was terrible. I don't care, irrelevant if you think whatever you think of it. We don't shoot each other in this country.
To be honest, I don't think Trump is acting. He's not reading lines off a teleprompter or following some secret playbook. What you see is what you get, raw, unfiltered, unapologetically himself. And that's exactly why his supporters stick with him. They sense that authenticity. He's not trying to charm the Hollywood elite or impress the polished insiders of Washington, D.C. He doesn't need their approval, and that drives them crazy. Now, compare that to the media darlings and professional politicians, the ones who thrive on posturing, buzzwords, and fake humility. They're always auditioning, performing for applause rather than conviction, every gesture rehearsed, every word weighed for optics. It's all theater, slick, empty, and exhausting. And that's precisely where Maher's point hits home. Trump, for all his imperfections, feels real. He's flawed, sure, but he's not pretending. Meanwhile, authenticity has become the rarest virtue in today's political circus, a world where everyone's playing a role and no one dares speak off script. Ironically, the same crowd that spent years policing speech is now shouting about freedom of expression. The sudden concern would be funny if it weren't so transparently self-serving.
Reaction to Jimmy Kimmel being pulled off the air, and his reaction. The first words that came out of Trump's mouth is that it was the left, and obviously when Jimmy Kimmel said what he said, Trump wanted him pulled off the air, even though it was the FCC chairman that really went about the business of making threats along those lines. What were your thoughts about all of that?
Unsurprised. I mean, come on, Donald Trump's been on the stage a long time. You always know he's going to go 100 miles an hour in that direction. You know, he is an actor who commits to the part. Man, does he talk about actors, as long as we're on that.
That's right.
Let's be honest. Their sudden love affair with free speech only started when they lost control of the narrative. When they ran the show, censorship was a virtue, not a vice. Silencing opposition, easy. Deplatforming dissenting voices, routine. They set the rules, dictated the boundaries, and congratulated themselves for it. But now that the pendulum has swung, they're panicking, terrified that the same tactics they perfected might be turned against them. Suddenly, the self-proclaimed defenders of truth are crying foul, worried about being shadow banned by the very machinery they built. Remember, these are the same people who pressured social media companies to bury stories that made them look bad, labeling inconvenient facts as misinformation to protect their own image. The same crowd that weaponized cancel culture to destroy anyone, writers, comedians, journalists, or even everyday citizens who dared to challenge their dogma. And now, after years of moral policing, they've rediscovered the First Amendment. How convenient. Their rediscovered devotion to free speech isn't a principle. It's panic. And there's no clearer example of hypocrisy than watching the former gatekeepers suddenly beg for open gates.
Ask you this: when you look at Trump and some of the things that he says, what are you more concerned about in this day and age, Bill? Is it how the right feeds off of what he says, or is it how the left reacts to what he says? What has you more concerned at this particular moment in time as we just purview the landscape, look at our country and the state of affairs that's going on around here?
Well, I love it that you always, like what you were just saying before I came on about free speech, and you said, well, let's be honest, the left sort of courted this a little bit because they weren't exactly champions of free speech. So you always have to look at that. I mean, I know that the woke people don't like it that I do.
Bill is absolutely right. The Democratic Party today feels less like a living movement and more like a ghost, drifting through the motions, pretending to be alive. On the surface, it still walks, talks, and campaigns, but inside, it's hollow. The energy is gone, the vision has evaporated, and the soul has flatlined. There's no spark, no fresh leadership capable of uniting the base or igniting passion in the average American. No bold message, no innovative ideas, just recycled slogans and outdated strategies that have failed time and again. It's a party clinging to its past victories while the world around it has already moved on. What remains is the shell of something that once mattered, an institution that confuses movement with momentum. Its stars deliver lines, not leadership. They perform, but they don't inspire. And as Maher bluntly warns, this isn't just a phase of political weakness, it's a march toward irrelevance. If Democrats don't wake up from this zombie trance, they won't just lose elections, they'll lose the future.
The Democratic Party is a ghost brand. You know what a ghost brand is? It's like Sears or, General Electric. It's still a company, Abercrombie and Fitch, but they've really fallen on hard times.
Yeah.
But they've been around for a long time. So there is value in, it's an asset, right? Because there are still people who know of the company, and if you could have somebody take it over who's not sentimental about that company and relaunch it, rebrand it, but it would have to be somebody who is unapologetic about calling them out. People have lost faith in the Democratic Party for very good reasons.
At this point, even Maher starts to sound a little conflicted, maybe even hypocritical. And honestly, who can blame him? Everyone has their biases, but his is crystal clear. Gavin Newsom. Maher has a soft spot for California's governor. No secret there. He roots for him, defends him, and applauds him every chance he gets. But here's the twist. Even with all that loyalty, Maher can't bring himself to endorse Newsom for president. And that says everything. Because Newsom isn't just another Democrat. He's a product of the very machinery that helped drag the DNC into decline. His shine fades fast once you look closer. A California defined by homelessness, suffocating taxes, and an exodus of businesses and middle-class families, the golden boy's glow looks more like rust. So if even Gavin Newsom's biggest cheerleader can't convince himself that the man is fit to resurrect a dying party, why should anyone else believe it?
You also have faith in California Governor Gavin Newsom, did you not?
I'd love him as a candidate. Yes, I mean, you're right. He's not exactly what I'm describing now. Right. I think he'd be a great candidate. He has shown in recent months the ability also to move to the center. He would have to do it a lot more, but as a candidate, he looks great. Great speaker, very forceful, can be mean, which is really important, and he can do it. He also has the backing, or certainly should, of where the energy is in the Democratic Party, the far left, because he's been out front on a lot of very liberal issues, which I think is great. Gay marriage here in California and stuff like that, pollution, all sorts of stuff that we believe in. But he does have a long trail to lose the baggage of governor of the most liberal state in the country. I tell him face to face, I've said it on the show, he went too far left for me often.
While Gen Z voters might rally behind figures like Zoran Manny and AOC, many Americans see them for what they are. Loud voices pushing lofty but impractical goals. They can dominate a Twitter feed, trend on TikTok, and flood the headlines. But when it comes to Real political weight, they simply don't have it. And on this, Maher is absolutely right. For all their energy and social media flair, far-left politicians haven't shown they can help Democrats actually win elections. Popularity isn't power. A viral clip doesn't equal a viable campaign. The last election cycle proved it beyond doubt. Shouting the loudest doesn't get you to the White House. Winning still depends on persuasion, not performance, and that's where the far left keeps failing. Their message might stir applause in activist circles, but it doesn't connect with the broader electorate that decides who governs.
Do you think a far lefty can win a national election in this day and age? A presidential election. Do you think that could
A
happen?
far left, you mean like AOC?
Yes. I'm just whether it's what you said about Newsom, whether it's an AOC. I mean, do you think somebody like that can win a general election for the presidency of the United States in this day and age? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I mean, that's, anything is possible, and possibly it would excite a certain group of people who have not voted. What if 80% of Gen Z voted? Could then a Mondami-like candidate win? I guess so, but I'm not expecting that to happen, and I don't think it's the smart bet for the Democrats.
The left has reached its breaking point. If Democrats want to win another general election, they must finally separate themselves from the far left fringe. Following the lead of figures like AOC might fire up activists and rack up online engagement, but it alienates the middle class, the voters who actually decide elections. To secure real victory, Democrats need voters, not retweets. They must step out of their ideological bubble and start engaging with centrists, independents, and even moderate conservatives. Politics isn't about purity, it's about coalition building. Yet the left keeps choosing isolation, trapped in a world of moral litmus tests and ever-narrowing standards of ideological perfection. If they want to remain relevant, they must reconnect with everyday Americans, speak to real issues, deliver practical results, and prove they can govern with more than just slogans. Otherwise, opponents who know how to appeal to the majority will keep gaining ground. In the end, Maher's warning lands like a gut punch. The Democrats have become a ghost party. Leaderless, insulated, and haunted by rhetoric that wins applause but loses elections. Until they break from the fringe, confront reality, and rebuild trust with ordinary Americans, they'll keep fading further into the background.